All right, sorry about that, guys. We got toned out there. We'll continue. Parking your patrol vehicle near the fire scene obstructs firefighters from running hoses to effectively fight the fires. So basically, if we're going to show up on scene, we got two guys, two trucks coming usually. Our first truck's going to make entry. More than likely, we're going to have one truck up front, preferably parked in front of the structure, and then that other truck going to come back and he's going to get orders from that captain or that lieutenant on that truck on where the positioning may be. We may need to stretch a line as far as 3 blocks away, or we could stretch a line no farther than the driveway or the front yard, depending on where the hydrant is.
And you probably want a patrol car there blocking so they can't run over.
So with the vehicle placement and set of parking, close to the fire or pulling straight up and stop in front of the residence, you may go ahead and pull up, several feet, do your walk around, get out, check everything out, and then block the streets off. Like I said, we'll get into that here briefly. Also, parking too close to the scene causes risk or damage to your patrol car. I'm sure we've all been there. That fire, if it ventilates, it's hot. And we've had lights on our truck get hot and melt just from the scene, from the road. So it's definitely a damage issue there. Parking away so to block the street in an effort to prevent bystanders from driving over hoses. That happens every fire scene. I do not know what it is about the public thinking that it's okay to run over our fire hose, but it happens. We had a little garage fire just the other day, and we were done. We were mopping up 2 trucks in the road, and here comes here comes somebody down the road 3:30 in the morning, and he was going to run over our hose until we told him to stop. And basically what that does, it could water hammer our truck. All right, if we got water flowing through that hose and it abruptly stops, that's damaging our trucks. Not to mention it could throw that pump in an error code, and if we have guys inside of a structure, then they're in there without water. And that's the last thing we want ever, is to have, in a fire attack situation and lose our water due to something like that.
Are you aware that there is a city ordinance for that?
Yes.
So we can write a summons for
Yeah,
it.
and we did. We had a fire over on Clark.
Creed did on large.
LDH. It was an LDH, and the lady just run over it. I mean, she's seen it. She told us she's seen it, and they chased her down and wrote her a ticket for her. And that's very
You
important.
can write a ticket for that?
You can write
Yeah.
that,
Position additional patrol vehicles at other intersections to help provide a safe working area for everyone. Okay, so that's basically getting with, your sergeant, he's going to be in charge of that platoon that day. It's going to be up to him where he wants the roads blocked off and everything, as long as our fire scene is protected. A block ahead or a block below. And if it, by chance we're right at an intersection, it may take another vehicle or cones, to
We also have a city ordinance for the fair bad police officer too. So if you have someone that's giving you trouble at a fire scene and they don't want to leave, they actually can be arrested by us, so.
I helped out a bunch.
And there's going to be stuff on here for this too, and then this is going to be as a fireman's point of view, that as we get in here later, we can have Sergeant Arnsberg put in his information too, because there's a lot of stuff that, like I said, we don't know what goes on when we're wearing their badge. This is just to try to get everybody to work safely together. That's not telling anybody how to do their job one way or another. So our FPCs, the main ones we have that you'll see right here in the lower left here. That's going to be on all your high-rise connections. I don't believe in the city we have any LDH. Haven't seen any, but that's the same thing. Basically what we're going to do is, if we pull up on scene to a high-rise type structure with a sprinkler system, we're going to hook our truck to
That doesn't
that.
even have to be like a high rise, because Walgreens has.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
I mean, Lowe's has,
Yeah.
I think it's for spring.
Any building that's sprinkled
Yeah.
is where we're at. So in doing that, we got to sign these and we run off onto the truck. So we're looking what?
But through those.
50 feet at least.
50 foot.
And not picking on anybody, but another reason why I wanted to do this class is we've had a couple fires over at the towers, and the police officers think they're doing the right thing because they're out of our way, they're up on the sidewalk for the most part, but guess what? They're right in front of that FTC, and they had no clue they were doing wrong. They thought they were doing good, and they were in any other situation. If that FTC wasn't there, I'm not gonna say it's the best place for them. It is a high rise, we'll get into collapse zones and stuff, but that's a very safe building as far as collapsing goes. But they were out of our way. The bad thing is, we're right in front of our FTC. And we showed up, and they go in, and they're going up the stairs, and they're trying to help somebody, because that's what we do, is help somebody. The thing is, I want these guys to know what they're going to do when they get there to help somebody. What the proper way is to help somebody in a situation like that.
Why do you all hook up to those things? I mean,
We
what-
supply air pressure, in case some of the fire pumps are electric, if the electric's out, we can supplement it, we can supply pressure.
Well, on the high rise,
Supplement.
the high rise is so when we get up top, we can hook up to a.
That
line
too,
like
but it
that.
also runs a sprinkler too.
Basically,
It's a supplement more than anything.
you have some places that have fire pumps and water to them. You have other places that just have risers, and we supply all the water to them. But yeah, that's right, we're basically hooking up to that. We're gonna run our truck so that when they get up to the 3rd, 4th, 12th floor, they can hook up to a hose that they have up there.
We'll carry a hose
riser,
back.
and go ahead and fight the fire on it.
Learn something.
Like I said, we don't see many of these. I know, you can go around St. Louis where the big buildings and stuff, you'll see some of those. That is,
It's kind of ridiculous.
yeah, that's kind of the same thing as that, but it looks like very small. But they're all pretty much the same things. That's what we're looking for. The ones we'll have, we'll say FBC in red, have a red ring around it, or they're supposed to.
They're gonna just
Scene size up. The process of gathering and analyzing information that will influence decision fire officers make and actions firefighters take. Most important thing as a firefighter, police officer, any first arriving first responder, paramedic, EMT, doesn't matter. Before a fire department's arrival, that scene size up paints a picture in our mind of what we're going into.
You can start in on-
Sometimes it's obvious that to us that we didn't get the information, and that doesn't mean dispatch didn't get it, but instead of the patrolman relaying it to dispatch knowing it, but in that short amount of time not getting relayed to us. Okay, and that's something else that I want to try to work on for this department as well as anybody else that's taking this class, is that the appropriate people need to hear that size up. You can tell a scene size up to your neighbor, but it ain't gonna do any good if the fire department doesn't get it, if the appropriate people don't get it, okay? Upon arrival, officers should complete a 360 walk around outside of the scene. And basically what that is you're showing up on scene, you're looking at it, and if there's fire coming out of that window or the front door, it's pretty obvious where that fire may be. But as you'll see in some of these pictures and videos, you show up on scene, you see heavy smoke and flames coming from behind the structure. If we don't do that 360, we don't know if it's something outside on fire that appears like the house is on fire. We don't know if it's started on the outside and working on the way in. We gotta make that 360. And something else to be aware of, yeah, you may have heavy smoke and flames coming from the front of the building, but you have maybe a kid or somebody in the back of that structure at the window away from the fire looking for help. And if we don't perform that 360 walk around, we may miss something. We are gonna miss something. Okay, that's, notate the condition of the emergency and potential hazards to personnel. Okay, somebody give me an example of that.
Fire
Power lines.
lines, gas.
Gas.
Yes. Regulations on the west side.
Yeah. We have a garage fire. We don't know what's in garages. It could be,
Got a
everybody's got
UPS
gas.
truck on
tank.
fire, FedEx truck, instead of just having a vehicle fire, they can notate as a delivery vehicle on fire. Like that.
Pit bulls.
That's something else. That's all part of your sizing, dogs. Those dogs, they're confused, they may be very protective of their owner, all right? We don't have anything to protect ourselves as firefighters. Officers, police officers may have something a little more than we do. I mean, we could probably find something, but report observations to dispatch immediately for responding firefighter personnel. And that goes both ways, and this class can be taught to dispatchers as well, because our police officers can give that observation and they can tell dispatch. But if that information doesn't get to our trucks when we're en route, we're not gonna have a size up for that scene. We're not gonna know exactly what's going on.
I've got a question. Can you guys click over to our frequency? Do you have orbit fire? You can get it straight to us too.
Okay, but that's up to them. I mean,
If you wanted to.
that
I don't know
would
what
be,
your protocols are. I didn't know if you guys were able to though.
that'd be beyond this class. Like I said, we're not changing any SOPs or Gs. We're just strictly putting information out there to be aware.
9 times out of 10, though, your first truck was beating our officers there.
Yeah.
With us just running with 2 cars in town most of the
Yeah.
time.
And I found it, unless it's middle of the night when you guys are out and about anyway, and it takes us that extra minute or two to get dressed and get on the scene. But yeah, during the day, it seems like usually we're there. Important observations relay before we go on. Anybody got any right off the, I guess we talked a little bit. What's some observations? What are we gonna say in our scene size up?
It's a building, what, 2-story structure, 3-story structure.
Type of building?
We're plugged.
Looking for plugs, that's very important, something with a police officer on scene or coming in, they may relay that, motorly be advised, they got a plug at, whatever,
Maybe
and
there's
that's,
fire on one side or the other.
yeah. So we got, is there smoke, flame showing? Okay, and if they are, how, what color is smoke? I mean, we can go on and on. Heavy smoke showing, if it's heavy smoke, we don't really concern about what color it is, because we know we got something. Obviously, there's flame showing. Color and density of the smoke. Flames that are visible through windows or other openings of the structure. You get a new house, one of the new houses in some of our newer subdivisions, and you don't even have to be newer houses. There's a lot of times you get a phone call that my house is on fire. You show up and there's not smoke coming anywhere. But we have a time, I was on the truck, we showed up, we had 2 911 calls, and they determined there's a fire. And they said, we've got multiple calls on it. We show up, no flames, no smoke. I get off the truck, I'm looking around, not until I did my 360, when I got halfway around the house, that I looked in the kitchen, and the kitchen was fully involved in fire. It was it was a very tight house. It was in the middle of the winter. It was winter.
Like
And,
some of the newer houses, spray foam and everything.
and there was just not a lot of smoke. Now, as soon as we went in there, that house was hot. It was starving for oxygen. We'll get into that a little bit more. And all it needed was oxygen. And sometimes that can be a serious situation. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Do you smell odors in the air, such as chemicals? No, if you do your 360 right, upwind, uphill, you're not gonna get into the color or the smell of smokes. Basically, what that is if you got a chemical fire, something to be aware of. What type of structure, like Evan was saying, is it a 1 or 2 family dwelling? Do we have a strip mall downtown on fire? Is it a garage? That's all going to play a difference in our attack. If we got a structure in the middle of the day, in the summer or middle of the night, we're thinking somebody's in there. If it's a garage, more than likely there's not going to be anybody in that garage at that time of night. Residential single-family dwellings, 1 or 2 story homes, multi-family dwellings. Somebody give an example of what kind of multi-family dwellings we have. Sherwood Glen. What are some of the non-obvious ones?
The large houses down on Reed Street that are actually, there's 6, 7 apartments in there, but it looks like just one regular house.
Yeah, the big houses when Moberly was first built, and the bigger part of town, nicer part of town, a lot of those things are all cut up. We had a medical call not too long ago on Morley Street, and it was a duplex. Only had 1 number on the house. Well, the guy actually lived pretty much in just the attic part of the house. And you had to go up some old wooden stairs. There was only one way in, one way in and one way out, you know, but, that's the situation we get into. And those blue constructions, you go in the house, that go straight up to that attic, we don't know they're in there, you know. It's gonna be difficult for us to get them out, so, that goes along with your scene size up as well. So, commercial buildings, are there any indicators of occupants inside the structure? Okay, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you got 2 vehicles in the driveway and there's nobody standing out in their meeting spot at the front door or the neighbors call it in, is that gonna change our plan of attack? What does that get us saying? That's getting us saying, well, hey, somebody in there. Could be. Okay. Very important information to know. Time of day. Vehicles in driveway. Personal knowledge of the area, and that goes with the police officers as well. They're gonna be called to calls that we're not. They're gonna be dealing with people that's maybe in trouble at times, possible illegal substances in place, you know. That's gonna be something that you guys can relay to us. Maybe not over the radio, but as soon as our first officer, you know, a fire officer pulls up and say, hey, I've been here before, be careful. Like you said, dogs, it could be, I know there for a fact, we were here the other day, there's dogs in here. If a victim tells you their baby is inside, clarify if it's an animal or child. Every buyer, they call their dogs babies. Their cats are babies. And when we're going 150 mile an hour and our adrenaline's pumping, when we hear baby, you know, that's every firefighter's, police officer's worst, you know, worst nightmares that there's gonna be a child in there that we're gonna have to go in there and try to find in a room that we can't see in. And they're calling their little shih tzu a baby. Clarify. Gathering information. Did you hear or see anything unusual? Okay, a lot of times have some bystanders out, maybe they're, you know, before we get there, they may be talking amongst themselves, saying anything suspicious, maybe seeing a guy leaving the scene or somebody just out walking around at that time of night. That's important. Was there an explosion? All right, that tells us if somebody said, well, there's an explosion, next thing I know, flames coming everywhere. We're looking at potential gas leak, you know. Heaven forbid, you know, any kind of malicious stuff. But anybody running from the scene or acting out of ordinary, you know, do we see a lot of it? Will we see a lot of it? Probably not, but it's been known. There's been people that start fires for fun, just to watch them burn. Are all occupants in the structure accounted for? Most generally, if we get called to a house fire, and somebody's at home, you're gonna know real quick if they're missing somebody. There's been some reports that even a mother frantically looking for their child, teenage child, and just knew for sure they were in that room, and that we had to go in, not us, but firefighters had to go in there and get them out. Well, in fact, that child had snuck out of the house and almost cost 2 firefighters their lives looking for that boy. All right, so that's just something to keep in mind. We're there to save life and property. Life first, property second. It's a law enforcement officer, you know, you can gather that information on the side while we're making initial attacks and stuff. You have personal knowledge of the building is if the building is occupied. Talk to a neighbor, bystander, ask if they haven't seen or seen anyone around the structure. All right, when you guys get there, we've got a small amount of guys, probably 5 guys at the least, 7 guys at the most. So we're pretty much going to be all hands on deck. But that's something that you could always ask, you know, talk to and do your investigation as well, and then relay on to us. use neighborhood canvassing to collect information about the structure. Basically, that's, you're just gonna, you wanna talk about that a little bit? Do y'all do any neighborhood canvassing at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
On every, I mean, we go out and burglaries or something stolen, we'll talk to the neighbors, so,
yeah. Okay, a lot of times you can learn a lot from your neighbors. If we're working a fire scene and it's just something's not right, they may not be the neighbor that calls law enforcement every time something goes wrong, but I bet you somewhere they got a list of every time something happened, or, you know, a lot of times they'll say, well, I've seen this or I've seen that.
Especially the ones that are standing out on the front porch.
Yeah.
While you guys are doing your job, that's a good time to go over it.
Yeah.
For us to go over and say, hey, what do y'all know? You know?
Because a lot of times, guys, if our fire officer, he's not gonna be available for interviews and asking around the neighbors and stuff until he knows that we're safe and that the fire's under control. So if we can use that time for you guys to do your investigation and relay to us, that gives us a head start right out of that. What do you know about the structure? Has there been any illegal activity? We've been kind of talking about that already. Are occupants of the structure possibly dangerous? Emotionally disturbed person subject with warrants. All right, just because they have a warrant doesn't mean they're dangerous? No, but it's good information to know that there is a potentially violent situation. Heavy use of drugs or alcohol. Their house is on fire, they're asleep, they don't know it's on fire, and we go walking through their door. You know, that's stuff that we can get some information from you guys saying, hey, just a heads up, you know. Crowd and traffic control. Police may need to set up a fire line if they're in an abundance of bystanders. Sometimes that all plays in with the time of day in the area where the fire is. We're in a heavy populated area, and middle of summer, and we got, 6 o'clock in the evening, everybody's home, kids running around. May have to put up a fire line. What else would we use fire lines for? Evidence. If there's something suspicious there, you may have to take it off. Block off the streets at each end of the block. Okay, so we have a fire in the middle of the block. Sometimes we have to worry about alleys, not so much. Not a lot of people use the alleys unless there's a house burning and they're going to go through there and try to look. But if we could get, law enforcement on both sides, and for the most part, I've never seen them not do this. And block both ways. A lot of times people are going to go around. Sometimes they'll try to go right through our fire scene. Prevent vehicles from passing over stretch hose lines. Like I said a little bit earlier, that is something that just seems like is a problem all the time. And possibly nothing would happen if they run over our hose lines, but what if it did? What if it threw an error to our truck pump? What if water hammered our truck, damaged the hose? It's more than likely going to damage. You take an LDH, 4-inch LDH, that's hard as a rock. I mean, you run over that, it's liable to bust. And then we have to stop all operations. And sometimes not only minutes count, but seconds count in situations like that. And we're out of water. There's nothing we can do about that. Somebody could potentially get hurt or worse killed, or we could lose that fire. Ensure the access to hydrants are unobstructed and all fire lanes are open. Most generally, we're not going to have to worry about parking in front of hydrants. I mean, that's a pretty obvious thing. But as we were talking earlier with the FDCs, that would be more important. That would be most.
You got somebody's personal vehicle on the way, like.
Yeah, personal vehicle. We're going to do what we want to do. I mean, what we have to do. Are we going to break their window out and run a stretch hose line through it? Probably not.
I don't want to do that.
But if it comes to losing somebody's home, or possibly 2 homes on that block, or somebody's life, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna worry about the rest of it a little later. Only allow authorized personnel into the fire scene, i.e. off-duty emergency personnel. A lot of times, guys, as firefighters, and the police are doing their job, they're blocking off the scene, they're not allowing anybody in, and we come in here with shorts and t-shirt because we got a callback. They don't know who we are. A lot of the guys, you know, they may know us, working with us, but sometimes they don't. There's a lot of police officers I see in street clothes on my day off that I talk to every day here, and they just don't recognize, you know, I mean, it's just different, especially some new ones. Identify yourself, let them know, or they're gonna do their job, and they're not gonna allow you to. Take a defensive approach. Do not enter a burning building without proper training and personal protective equipment. And that's what it all comes down to. You guys know that the firefighters in here, that even when we have all of our personal protective equipment on, it is a very extreme hazard for us to enter that building. It is. That's why we have all the things. And I know that you guys don't have anything as far as what you have on, and most generally the pants and stuff that you wear, you know, they're just a little bit of heat can melt right to your leg, you know, just anything. You open a door, what that's causing is when you open that door with that fire anywhere in that structure, open the door, smoke, heat, tons of gas is going to come out. It's going to be extremely hot. Not only is it hot, but that smoke that was going this way or straight up is now coming straight through that door. And then where are we going to come through? We're going to go through that door. We can keep that fire and smoke away from us as all possible. Then that's what we'll do. I have a really good video at the end of this course here about 2 officers that did enter, and one of them lost his life, and the other was permanently damaged for the rest of her life. Bad officers? Absolutely not. Excellent officers. Were they undereducated? Probably. Definitely. They were probably some of the best 2 officers on the street, but they were not firefighters, and they learned the hard way. Without proper PPE, it will be extremely dangerous for the responder to enter a burning structure. Opening doors or breaking windows or prematurely ventilate the structure, allowing fresh air to enter the building. This will cause the fire to expand throughout the structure, making an interior attack by firefighters more dangerous, and ventilating the structure decreases the likelihood of survival of trapped victims. It also poses a risk to the police officer due to the rapid release of smoke, flames, and hot gases that's coming out of that door. We'll get into flashover and backtrack here in a little bit, but sometimes, man, all you gotta do is open that door and boom. I mean, that's it. If it doesn't flash, it could backtrack.
A little bit of oxygen.
It's just, and this next one, we'll get into fire tetrahedron and different stuff. Here's a guys, basically this is just a hopefully it'll load up here. Just listen close, it's a captain giving scene size ups.
Single story, single family dwelling. We got the front porch on fire. Looks like it may be going in the basement. Entrances to be stretching a line, looking for basement out there. We're checking in, couple of the lines, going the over front.
You check that. Just check. A lot of these are fire captains giving the report, but your report will be similar to the exact same thing. The only thing, they'll do a plan of attack where you guys will just give, pretty much say what you see.
We got fired through the roof. We got north. There's a hydrant about 30 feet ahead of us. This will be,
So on that fire there, guys, can you really tell if it's coming out of the house or if it's burning on the outside of the house and going up?
Flip the tree.
Get knocked on the outside. Single story, single family dwelling, city fire, selling to the rear of the structure. So we don't want to line, we need the second image, just do this with the water, with,
7 kids inside the structure.
I just break it off. We're going to need help with the water and get the second one. The county is on scene in Silver Command. We got a good fire to support one problem. We also got a critical exposure to the south. With the first line and exposure line.
Joe, is that still going?
That's like that over here. It looks like so. That looks all like our stuff.
Yeah, you guys, they're the same fire, it's just different towns. They're not one any more dangerous than the other. Basically, guys, that's just different types of scene size ups. You'll know that a lot of them are the same. They sound the same, but when it's your turn to give one, it always seems like it's a lot harder than what it is. But basically, on a scene size up, be mindful of vehicle placement, okay? Arriving on the scene overview, be mindful of vehicle placement. Make sure you know where you're parking your vehicles. You know, make sure that we're not obstructing any FDCs, hydrants, size up the scene. All right, we're gonna tell them we're on scene, what we're seeing, heavy smoke, flames, nothing showing possibly. That time you're gonna get out and do a 360 on the outside of the building. Or what are we looking for on our 360?
Building construction.
We're looking for building construction. We're looking for smoke on the backside. We're looking for an older, doesn't have to be older, or anybody
Victims.
at the window, you know, trying to get out. We don't do that 360, we can miss something. We can fight that fire all day and it size up that scene all day in the front of that house. But if we don't do our walk around, we could easily miss something. Gather as much information as possible from bystanders and take a defensive approach. And that's basically what I'm stressing here is that there's so much information and so much good you guys can help on us if you take a defensive approach. If you let us do the offensive stuff, let us make entry. Like Sergeant said, not very many times are they on the scene for an abundance amount of time prior to our arrival. There's going to be times where you're going to see somebody at the window and they're asking for help and they're begging for help. And if you think in your mind that you know for sure that you can break that window or assist them out the window, then that's, you do that. But just because dispatch says there's possibly somebody in that house, or there is somebody in the house that you can't see or physically touch throughout on the outside of the house, it's going to be very difficult for you to get in there and do anything. You're going to get in there long enough to open that door, realize how hot it is, notice that the visibility is zero. We never made one save that we ever seen the patient, the victim. We pick them up on thermal imaging camera, or we just go over the top, or we just find them in our search and rescue. There's going to be zero visibility in that house. It's going to be extremely hot. And if you go in there to a house you've never been into, from here to the wall there, that's enough time to be overcome by smoke. And then we have another person to worry about, or possibly an officer that has lost their life or is hurt, and there was nobody in there. Okay, and that would be even worse. Protect the scene. That's a huge thing. If we can get you guys to protect the scene, keep people that don't need to be in there out, and get our road blocked so that we can walk around the street, around our trucks, and do whatever we need to do, that's a huge, huge help for us. It may not seem like very much, but if we don't have to worry about that guy going down the street busting our hoses, or maybe possibly running over our engineer, then a job well done. All right, section 2. Let's go over real quick some reviews if you guys want to. Has everybody filled out their study guide? Scene size, the process of gathering and analyzing information that will influence decisions fire officers make and the actions firefighters take upon arrival. Officers should complete a what walk around outside the scene? 360. Notate the condition of the emergency and potential hazards to personnel. Okay, and like I said, this all follows your PowerPoint presentation. Take a defensive approach down here at the bottom. Do not enter a burning building without proper training and personal protective equipment. Yeah. Opening doors and breaking windows will prematurely ventilate. Recognizing and understanding the threats of smoke and toxic gases found in all fires. Identify signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide poisoning. It's going to be your two main common toxic smokes or gases that you're going to find in a burning building. You'll find them in every burning building. Just the amount may differ. Toxic smoking gases. Smoke. a collection of tiny solids, liquids, and gas particles from incomplete combustions of fuel. So smoke is actually pretty much a solid, for the most part. What you see is a solid. What's inside that solid is a lot of hot gases and really bad stuff. So what the part in the smoke that you see is actually little pieces of tar, oils, carbon, and ash. Smoke allows for very little visibility inside of a structure. And like I was saying there in section 1, if somebody goes inside of a burning building unprotected, that smoke's going to overcome within minutes, and the heat's going to be to an extent that you're not going to be able to bear it. Not to mention, there is zero visibility. You may see a lady at this window, a victim, screaming for help. And he said, well, all I gotta do is open this door, walk through here, grab her, help her out. I'm telling you, man, it's nothing like that. I mean, it's nothing like that unless you've been in there. You may think you know how that layout is. You may get in the house and it just be completely cut up, tore up, dirty, messy, get cluttered. You just never know. Becoming disoriented, overcome is a major concern for untrained first responders. That's going to happen. You go into a burning building without PPE on, without your SCBA, you're going to get overcome. It's going to knock you to your knees. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas that is slightly less dense than air. So on a fire scene, if you've ever been close enough to the scene where you're smelling the gas, the gases, the smoke, the smell is not necessarily what the poison is. It's the stuff that you can't tell without a gas monitor. Okay? Is it toxic to humans and animals? It is toxic to human and animals. And encounter in concentrations of above 35 parts per million, and that's not very much. So we have a 4-gas monitor that can check all that stuff. And when we go in through overhaul, that's basically what we do. If it's over 35 parts per million, or probably over 20, we're going to be wearing SCBAs and stuff even through overhaul. Signs and symptoms of CO2 poisoning. A dull headache. I think everybody's probably had that after a fire. Weakness, dizziness, nausea or vomiting, shortness of breath, confusion, blurred vision, loss of consciousness in the late stage or heavy consumption of it. So reading those, would you really know the difference in just being exhausted and getting in there, working hard, and
That's basically what it is.
doing what you're doing? So it's hard to tell if you're experiencing CO poisoning or if you're just exhausted. A lot of the signs and symptoms are the same. Hydrogen cyanide is a colorless, extremely poisonous liquid. It's in a liquid form with a faint odor of bitter almonds. The thing about cyanide is not everybody can smell the bitter almond, and that's a fact. Actually, it is it's proven that only a certain amount of people, a certain percentage of people in the world actually can smell cyanide. Others just can't. HCN is produced when products such as wool, silk, cotton, nylon, and plastic burn. Okay? So, what is in every house that we've ever been in? All of it. And they have abundance of it. I mean, even furniture is plastic anymore. Plastic and glue, or fake wood and glue, laminated for the most part.
Laminated floor,
Laminated floor.
ceiling fans.
Back in the earlier days, a lot of stuff was made out of just good old solid oak wood. And everything, and that's why these houses are burning quick, burning hot, burning wore off. Toxic smoke and gas are signs and symptoms of cyanide poisoning. Kind of more of the same, but a little different. Lightheadedness, okay. Giddiness. I thought that was kind of one that's funny, and it is found with cyanide poisoning. If we get on scene and somebody's just overly giddiness or happy, what we that may be a symptom that.
Somebody needs to tell a heart disease.
So, yeah, somebody needs to tell. and you know, and that, if we see Hardy doing that, you know, that's one thing, probably wouldn't think of it, but if we see, you know, one of our new guys, Joe, if all of a sudden he's just giddy as can be and he doesn't hardly know anybody on the department, and he's never acted like that before, maybe it's something we need to look into. Rapid breathing, nausea, confusion, anxiety. Okay, that may be one feeling real anxious. Toxic smoke and gases overview. If you turn to your section 2, it would be on page 2, very bottom, and actually starts on page 3. Do a quick overview. Blink is a collection of tiny solids, liquids, and gas particles from incomplete combustion of fuel. Smoke. CO2 signs and symptoms include dull headache, weakness, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, hydrogen cyanide, a colorless, extremely poisonous liquid, and a faint odor, bitter almond. Sorry, I read it wrong one there. What are some signs and symptoms of lightheadedness, giddiness, rapid breathing, nausea, confusion? What? Cyanide. Okay. Probably should have put that a little different tomorrow. All right. Any questions on toxic smoke and gas? Everybody define smoke, particles, unburned particles. What are some barriers smoke can cause at a fire scene?
Visibility.
Visibility is the main one. Breathing. We described CO2, how it's HCN produced. What causes hydrogen cyanide? Pretty much everything in the house. What are signs and symptoms of CO2 and HCN? Section 3 objectives. I think, guys, we'll just take how long have we been at this?
An hour.
About an hour. We'll take a 15 minute break real quick or so.
Just the way we did it, I think.
10 minutes.